Let important things be visible. Peripheral vision is poor, so we might not pay attention to important messages if not placed prominently at the right location. So this is an example where an error message is being displayed, but since it's not at the right location, it's buried somewhere. The user cannot find it. As you can see, here's the error message. It says sorry and then some phrase, and it's buried in this header, and that's not the appropriate location. This can be resolved if the error message appears on a space like this, for example in red on a white background. That way we can see the error message because we want to let important things be visible. Another way is to have a pop-out menu that pops out and then gives or displays the error message. So we have to understand the goals and make information that the user is looking for available in a prominent place. We have to take advantage of conventions. For example, enough people have become familiar with the convention of using the shopping cart on e-commerce sites, like this one, for example. That's why it is safe for designers to use it without labeling it. We don't need to say shopping cart next to it. Everybody knows what this is, so we have to take advantage of conventions. Similarly, for the contact button, could be the envelope, the home button could be a home, the icon of a home, the feed, and so forth. We have to break pages into clearly defined areas. This is a great example of a very nice website that has wonderful and clear areas. It's the Cooper Union website in New York City. It has a very clear header at the top that takes no space, not no space actually, that's not accurate. It takes minimal space, this navigation. And then if you look how the page is organized, on the left side, we have a sidebar, and the sidebar includes the logo, which animates. If you visit the site, you'll see it. At the bottom of the logo of the sidebar is, a list of links. And then there's a content area divided into, maybe this is a secondary navigation, and then an area where there's an image divided into buttons. These are buttons, and obviously we're under academics, and then it's divided into the 4 schools that Cooper Union offers. And then under that area, which is a row, there's another row. On the left side is a paragraph that describes what academics is all about, and so forth. And on the right side, there are links to other places. So our eye sees clearly defined areas, and we know what to click on depending on our interest. This is important because it allows users to decide quickly which areas of the page to focus on and which areas they can safely ignore. Make it obvious what is clickable. In these 2 examples, we notice that the word email here and the share button are both clickable because they look different from everything else. The word email comes in bold, and the share button is red. These are other examples where food, healthcare, manufacturing, and so forth look like buttons because they look much different from everything else on the page. So if something is clickable, it should look different from the rest of the page by having a different color, a font weight, and so forth. One of the important things in web design with regards to buttons is that the number of clicks that take us to the desired destination should be minimal, and important information should not be buried deep in the site. However, if clicks are painless and the user feels confident that they're on the right track, then it is okay to have a few clicks until the user reaches the desired destination. Another example is CNN Health, CNN. Upon hover, a link should give visual feedback by changing color. Upon hover or upon click, so when we click on the health button, there should be a visual indication that we're on the health page, right? That's why there has been a switch in color. The word health is in red, the button health is in white, as opposed to the other buttons that are white text and red background. Let's define buttons and navigations. So buttons are graphic links that change color upon hover. Navigation bars are a series of links grouped together that can be either buttons or text. They give visual feedback by changing color or a visual effect. Minimize noise. The example on the left is quite noisy because those bold lines are unnecessary. The one on the right is quite comfortable to see and read because the bold lines have been replaced by thin lines. Less is more. Every element on a page should exist for a purpose, otherwise it is creating noise. We shouldn't have too much happening in the background that distracts the eye from finding what it wants. Maintain consistency. In this example, we're looking at the calendar and we're going to click on the next button that is situated at the top right corner, and we're moving from May to June to July, always clicking on the next button, always on the top right corner, until we reach August, and then the next button is replaced by the previous button. So we haven't really maintained consistency here. This is uncomfortable. Using the same convention over again helps users learn the purpose of the same thing. The next button is expected to be in a consistent location, even when it is not. That's why when we reach August and the next button has been replaced by the previous button, the user still thinks that if they click on that top right corner, that is the next button. So now they're confused. Likewise, all thumbnails, newspaper headlines, caption styles, navigation should be the same all over. Words. E.B. White's 17th rule in the Elements of Style. Who is E.B. White? E.B. White is Elwyn Brooks White, who was an American writer, and he was a longtime contributor to The New Yorker and co-author of The Elements of Style, which is an English language style guide. Omit needless words. Vigorous writing is concise. A sentence should contain no unnecessary words, a paragraph no unnecessary sentences, for the same reason that a drawing should have no unnecessary lines, and a machine no unnecessary parts. Still under words, with E.B. White's 17th rule in mind, we conclude that any word that exists unnecessarily on a page disrupts reading and buries the information a user is looking for. So in our designs, let's avoid unnecessary repetitions of the same words, avoid using too many words to describe something, very simple, avoid using unfamiliar words, and let's look at those examples now. First, avoid using repetitions of the same words, like the DMV example. So if you notice here, it says DMV performs, DMV strategic plan, printer friendly, and so forth. Repetition of the same word. On the right side, we see content in repetitive prose. How to renew your driver's license. How to renew your driver's license in person, by mail, by internet. As opposed to having a nice and a better visual structure where repetition is eliminated and have it in the form of a table, right? So we would say renewing license : in a bullet point, option 1 in person, option 2 by mail, option 3 by internet, So all of this is clear to the eye, and the person knows what they should click on, what they should choose, instead of reading the same repetitive prose kind of text. Avoid using too many words to describe something simple. This is SmartRow's Text Entry Properties dialog box, which displays too much text for its simple functionality. Avoid using unfamiliar words, such as aforementioned, heretofore, penultimate, and so forth. Designing the navigation. Web navigation is similar to store navigation, except that it lacks physicality, which means if we get lost, we cannot peek over the aisles to see where we are. That's one of the reasons we use the back button so much. So if we look at this drawing, this is store navigation. We enter the store, we look for the right department, we look for the right aisle, we look for the product. Do we find it? If no, we're frustrated. We still think we're in the right department. If not yet, we look for the right department, and so forth. If yes, then we look for the right aisle, and we find the product. But if yes, then we look for the cash register, we pay, and we look for the exit sign. Web navigation is very similar. So in web navigation, we want to avoid frustrating the user. That's why the navigation should be very good. So if we look at this drawing again, what we want to avoid by all means is this step. The step where the user gets frustrated. If the navigation were indeed good, it instructs by telling the user where to begin and what their options are. It directs by helping them find what they're looking for. It situates by informing them where they are. And it reveals the site for the user and tells them what it contains. So we want to avoid frustrating the user. Designing the navigation. The navigation is made up of the following: the site ID, which is right here, and the site ID is the highest thing in the logical hierarchy of the site. The sections, which is the primary menu, about client services support, for example. The subsections, so in light gray. The subsections in dark gray. And the utilities, which is a secondary menu, search, fax, sitemap, and so forth. The utilities are links to important areas of the site that are not part of the hierarchy. Still under designing the navigation, below are a few rules for a successful navigation. Let the navigation appear on every page of the site at the same consistent location. Have page names and let them be different from the section's name. Make the current location stand out. Use the angled bracket between breadcrumbs, small type, and boldface, the last item. So this visual is an example. We can put a pointer next to the word. We can change the text color. We can use bold. So here entertainment is bold as opposed to the others. We can reverse the button. We can change the button color and so forth. And it's good to indicate where the user is. So we can say you are here, and then home, the angled bracket, news, refund, Mars Curiosity, whatever website we're on. Designing the home page. Suggestions for a good home page are a prominent site ID, a clear hierarchy, prominent search, a teaser to entice the user, a space for ads if there are any, and a few shortcuts for the most frequently requested pieces of content. If we look at the Euronews website and look for these suggestions, we can see that the prominent site ID is right here. We can see a space for the ads for the Converse shoes. We can see a clear hierarchical difference between the title, the heading, and the paragraph. The title is in bold, the paragraph is not. We can see a teaser on this side. We can see most frequently requested pieces of content, and so forth.